What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off, and as promised in my Rifle Zero video today, I'm going to demystify the Pistol Zero. So stay tuned, should be a good time. As always, if you're looking to support the channel, those links in the description box. You follow any of those, you buy some stuff you were going to buy anyway, all of that helps the channel, and for that I thank you. Patreon's also live, and if you're looking for me, all the social media stuff's down there as well. So, Handgun Zero. You want to start an argument on the internet or your favorite gun forum? Get on there and ask about someone's zero and let the mom jokes fly. Like, it's bad. People are very dogmatic about a zero. They will tell you that this has to be zeroed for 7 yards because that's the typical distance for a defensive encounter. Or they'll tell you, oh no, I'm going for maximum precision, so you have to zero this at 25 yards for maximum precision because you should be able to do that. What if you can't see very well, right? Like, there are a lot of things that happen, and ultimately it does come down, much like the Rifle Zero, to your personal preference. But I'm going to show you some things today that will also let you know that it doesn't matter as much as you think. So again, to touch on this, zero means that we are physically adjusting either the iron sights or the optic we have on our firearms platform to achieve a point of aim, point of impact at a predetermined distance at which we have decided would be our zero. Unlike the Rifle Zero, though, we are not going to learn as much about our external ballistics, as far as what the round is doing and how high it's going to rise once you hit your initial 0 point before it starts coming back down. We're not going to learn any of that with a handgun, right? And a lot of that is because of the different engagement zones that are inherent in shooting a handgun versus shooting a rifle. But we are absolutely going to develop confidence in our ability to engage at all distances that are within our predicted engagement zone. So somebody's going to ask this question, and actually it's happened before, and that is, what is the PEZ, or the predicted engagement zone? PEZ, that's great, right? So your predicted engagement zone is basically what we're going to start with is contact shots, right? Because that is the closest distance we could find ourselves potentially, again, we're still clear, potentially engaging with a bad dude, right? Contact. Okay, so that's where we're going to start our predicted engagement zone. However, and also your zero matters not at all at the contact zone. But we need to go out to the longest distance that we can conceivably reliably impact with good hits on a target. That is a personal thing, right? If you have bad eyesight and you are struggling to make good impacts at 25 yards, but it's not a function of the gun or you as a shooter, it's just you can't see very well, that is your predicted zone of engagement. Contact to 25 yards. But we need to keep in mind, though, if we're talking about concealed carry, which is there to protect ourselves and other people from people that would wish to do us harm that aren't playing the same sport we're playing, which is called life and good people and lifestyle. If we're doing the CCW thing, this is a primary weapon system. I've gone over this before. If you're not treating your handgun as a primary weapon system for CCW, you are doing it wrong, right? I've heard this said before. My handgun is to fight my way to my rifle. Right. If your rifle's outside and the guy that's killing innocent folks is inside of the building with you, you're telling me that you're going to fight your way out of the building and remove yourself from the situation, obtain your rifle, and then re-enter a building knowing nothing about what's going on because you left and engaged. No, that's fake. That's fallacy. That's BS. If your rifle's in your backpack behind you and you just ain't had time to get it out, sure, okay, that's your primary system. But for most people in the modern civilized world, this is your primary option for dealing with a self-defense encounter. Don't like it? I don't care. It's real life. So we need to be training this as a primary weapon system. I've said that before, and I'll always say it. And I use the Walmart supermarket thing as my example. If I was in a Walmart today and I was at the longest distance that I could from the back of store in the electronics section to the front door where the bad dude came in, that is in excess of 100 yards. Schools, supermarkets, parking lots, God forbid, you can easily be talking about an envelope of engagement that's well in excess of 100 yards. Am I saying you need to be capable of a 100-yard pistol shot? No, I'm not. Right? That's BS. I'm not even going to tell you that you need to train Like, it's fun to see if you can shoot steel at 100, but let's be realistic about it. You can't verify your hits at 100 yards, right? You can't positively guarantee that every round is going to strike that at 100 yards because you're human. So don't do that. However, what I have done for me, and keep in mind, this is a primary weapon system for me. I'm a cop. I know it's going to make some people mad. Also, don't care. Probably not the same kind of cops you grew up with, man. So for me, I like 40 to 45 yards, right? And I train consistently every range trip at 40 yards or 45 yards, somewhere in there. I want to know that at 40 yards when I present out and I acquire my dot, that when I pull the trigger, I can impact center mass thoracic cavity with a round from my handgun. I want to know that that capability belongs to me, which means that predictive engagement zone for me is anything from contact distance to 40 yards with a well-aimed, precise shot with a handgun, which is totally possible, especially if you have a red dot. It is not freaking hard to shoot a silhouette at 40 yards with a red dot. It is absolutely doable for anybody. And I've said this before about training wrong, like we've somehow entered this thing where 15 yards is the new 25. That's total bullshit, man. Like 25 yards is still 25 yards, 40 yards is still 40 yards. And if you're not training at 40 yards, 15 ain't the new 25, right? 15 yards is a closer shot than 40 yards. You need to be able to hit stuff further away than 15 yards. I will tell you it's absolutely doable by any person with any kind of fundamentals. As long as you do some practice, you can make those shots. So it's not a lofty goal, right? We're not talking about shooting GM class stuff like gateway defense and like watching that dude dude's shooting so freaking fast the gun's overheating. We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about well-aimed, well done, precise trigger pulls that put rounds into what we're trying to put them into, and that is doable by anybody with a good amount of practice and some quality equipment, and more importantly, good, consistent ammunition. So that is what I detail out as my predictive engagement zone, my PEZ, if you will, is anything from close contact to 40 yards. I want to own everything in that sphere, and that means that whatever I zero my optic at has got to allow me that capability. Now, y'all ready to make some people mad? 7 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, 25 yards. All right. Moment of silence for everybody's feelings. All right, so let's look at a 7-yard zero, right? Pretty common. In case you're wondering, I'm actually looking at ballistics drop tables, and I'm going to show you this on a target to make it make more sense. So let's say with a 7-yard zero, that means I'm point of aim, point of impact at 7 yards. Well, at 40 yards, I'm 2.78 inches high. So that means from contact, which contact would be 1 inch low from the dot, to 40 yards, I have a 3.78 inch movement of my round. So my 7-yard zero at 40 yards is going to impact 2.78 inches high. Can you hold a 2.78 inch group offhand with your handgun at 40 yards? Remember, I said moment of silence for your feelings. How about 15 yards? It's a very common zero distance. So at 15 yards, means I'm point of impact, point of aim, point of impact at 15 yards. What about my 40-yard shot? I'm 0.32 inches high. So that means from close contact to 40 yards, I have a 1.32 inch movement of my round. Can you hold a 0.32 inch group at 40 yards? How about 25? 25, man, you gotta have 25 for those engagement zones. What if I told you at 25, there's a 0.20 inch drop at 40 yards? 0.20. And with 15, if you remember, .32-inch rise. There's a ½ an inch difference between a 15-yard and a 25-yard zero at 40 yards. That number gets smaller the closer we get. So what's that look like on a piece of paper? The black dots are representative of a 7-yard zero. So there we go. 7 yards, 40 yards. We're still in a freaking A zone. Again, this is a 1/3 size, by the way, 2 scale. Red guy over here is going to be my 15-yard zero. So from my 0 to 40 yards, that much space. Zero distance of 15 to 40 yards. That's it. What about the blue guy over here? That's your 25-yard zero. From your 0 to 40 yards. I just covered that with my fingertip. Do you mean to tell me that you are so skilled and so talented at shooting a handgun that you can tell me the difference between a 15-yard and a 25-yard zero shooting offhand with a red dot and a Glock? You can't. I'm going to let you in on that secret. You can't. You're not, like, there are very few people that good. Now, 7 yard, the 7-yard zero versus the 15. Yeah, okay. I could take that argument, right? This isn't a freaking rifle, man. We're not dealing with rifle ballistics. We're not dealing with a round that's going to be shot at 200 yards, right? If we were, the zero would look vastly different. It would be insane. But that's the difference between 7 in black, 15 in red, and 25 in blue. Can you hold a group smaller than the red series of dots at 10 yards with your handgun? If you can, fantastic. What about smaller than the blue series of dots? I bet you can't. That's reality. This is reality of the Pistol Zero. So as I told you guys before, it doesn't matter. Pick your zero, go out, zero, get a good zero. More important than anything at all when you get your zero is to make sure that your windage is good, right? We don't want that round to be impacting left or right from our predicted point of aim. We want the round to hit straight, right? 7 yards. I don't like a 7-yard zero. I'm a 15-yard zero guy. All of my red dots are zeroed at 15 yards. Why is that? I just showed you. From 15 yards to 40 yards, I have about a little over an inch of spread. I can't shoot an inch group at 40 yards. So the limiting factor on how accurate this thing is me. The limiting factor on how good my zero is also me. So remember what I told you guys when I said I would talk about zeros, which is that your zero doesn't really matter, and it doesn't matter. Now, somebody's going to ask the question, what about your iron sights, man? Yeah, I zero my iron sights too. For those of you that don't know how that works, if you don't have an adjustable iron sight in the rear that adjusts for windage and elevation, your windage is controlled by drifting this sight left or right. That happens. You use a sight pusher to do that. You can buy a different height front sight post to allow you to either elevate the gun to make it hit a little higher or to make you level the gun out more so that your rounds hit where you need to. I will tell you that typically at 15 yards, you're not going to be able to freaking tell, right? You're not. With a gross sight picture that is and as unrefined as a sight picture is with iron sights at 15 yards, good luck, man. Like the left and right things are totally a thing, right? Like that's a real thing. I've seen that happen. But the up and down part, you're not going to see it. It's not going to happen. You're not that good, man. Moment of silence for your feelings. You're not that good. I don't know many people that good that can tell me the difference between that 25-yard zero and that 15-yard zero on their best day shooting on a range. And definitely ain't going to tell me on their best day in a defensive encounter. So guys, there you go. Hard facts that don't care about your feelings whatsoever. The truth and demystification of handgun red dot zeros. So guys, hopefully you found this informative. You take something away and go school that guy that told you got to zero your crap at 25 yards and tell him how wrong he is, armed with the knowledge of what ballistics actually look like. Again, I'll post that over there on my Instagram page for guys to pull down if you want. I may try to put that, like scan it in on a PDF and just link it into the description of this. We'll see if I can do that. So guys, I am Uncle Freedom. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and until next time, I'll see you later.